You're listening to Season 5 of Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan podcast with your hosts Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. Get us free on Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our new website, angryfootballfans.com. We also have a new sponsor for Season 5, the Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina. Let's go Giants, go Jets, and get ready to have some fun.
Wide to the left, top of your screen. Jones on third down, looking end zone, throws, it's Nabers. Touchdown! Let's see the feed, Kenny, first. One down, two down, touchdown, and now, yes, makes up for that horrible play right before. Now watch the hand when the second foot comes down. Did the hand touch out of bounds before that second foot hit? Good point, Kenny.
So that is the call of Malik Nabers coming off a spectacular game and catching the ball in the back of the end zone, twisting his body to get his feet down. Nabers has arrived. We'll talk about the Nabers play. We'll talk about the Giants getting a win. We'll talk about the Jets getting a win. It's a fantastic week for us. We've both got wins this week, which I think is the first time since 1971 on the same week. So we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet fan. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. And guys, we'll get into all the details, but great to see both of our teams win. Looked like we were going to have a comfortable win, much like the Jets, but we had to make it interesting at the end, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why. But Jets cruised in their game.
Yeah, you've left out the Panthers one too. Get Darren on get Darren on the last time the Giants, Jets, and Panthers won on a weekend. That's probably going back a bit.
Yeah, unheard of. Absolutely unheard of.
How did the Panthers actually win a game? I don't know, but I guess we'll get into it in a little bit. It's just wild. The NFL this year is just wild. I mean, if you look at the records and who's been good and who's been bad, and it's like any other year.
0-2 teams rose up, undefeated teams lost, came back down to earth. It said progression.
That's why I don't do survivor pools anymore. I'm fully retired from all of this stuff because there's no way.
Smart.
The bad beats and the fantasy stuff and all that crap. God, there's no way I can I'd be able to handle that. But yeah, Scott, you kicked it off right there. What a difference, man, in just your emotions and being able to watch like Novak. You guys won, to start the week, so you can just roll into the weekend. And when you win at 1:00, you're sitting kicking back watching the 4:00 games. You're watching the night game. Instead of being pissed off and just angry, you're sitting back. I was watching the Cowboy game, just sitting back with an IPA, just rolling in it. What a difference!
There's a whole different mindset when you win the 1:00 game, man. The whole day takes on an entirely different feel. Yeah. You feel kind of like a king for the 4:00 games. You're like, look at these teams hacking it out. We've already won.
So before we get into all the details, let's give a shout out. And this one's from Delaware. So hello, Ocean View, Delaware. Population 1,882. So this is a small town. Wow. It's located 1 mile from the Atlantic Ocean near Bethany Beach. It wasn't colonized initially because of the sandy, salty soil that no one wanted to inhabit on and the salty air. And it was originally called Hall's Store because W.S. Hall opened up a general store there. It's called Ocean View because the ocean is visible from higher locations, and it's the birthplace for commercial broilers. So Kenny Rogers Chicken probably got their broilers from there.
Probably.
My favorite Seinfeld episode, the Kenny Rogers Roasters episode, is my favorite.
Yeah, Ocean View being a mile away. Now, we had another one the other week there where they were, what was it called? Kingsport or something, and it was like 50 miles inland. You still got to have pretty good vision to see a mile, but I guess the Ocean View is not bad. So, not bad.
If we can get like 5 people listening in that town, that's like shit. That's like a third of the town.
Yeah.
Doing all right.
Yeah, and a quarter of the state. I mean, it's like the smallest, right? Do we have a download at every state now, Scott? I mean, I don't think you've called Delaware before. I know you've called Rhode Island and Nebraska and a bunch of other.
I don't know if we've had one in Alaska yet or Hawaii, but I think the other states I'm pretty sure, but I can go back and look. I will tell you this week we had downloads from Ireland, Canada, and Sweden.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's time to like your rucksack.
It's actually better than your English accent.
It really is. That was
Right?
one of your
That
better
wasn't bad.
ones.
That was a good one.
Just from, what was that? Trading
Swedish
Places with the? Oh no, it was it was Trading
Inga
Places,
from
wasn't it?
Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
From Sweden. It was Clarence Beeks was in that.
That's right.
That's right.
The principal from Breakfast Club.
Vernon. He was Vernon in Breakfast Club. Yeah. Beaks. You bump into him on the road, he just throws you to the ground.
So the Giants-Browns game couldn't have started any worse for the Giants. Opening kickoff, we inexplicably decide to run the ball out. Gray fumbles the ball, picked right up by the Browns, and then the very first play from scrimmage, Watson to Amari Cooper, touchdown. And then after that, Giants had a great first half, went into the break up 21-7. Jones was great in the first half. Second half, they had some chances. Singletary fumbled, which stopped a drive. They had a drive that was muted by a Daniel Bellinger great block where he's just mauling his guy, and apparently he looked too good blocking him because they called a hold for some reason, even though even Jonathan Vilma had to say, well, his hands were inside the frame of the jersey there. But the story to me here is Malik Nabers just going. He's a guy we finally have where you can throw the ball up and he's going to come down with. First ever to have 20 receptions and 3 TDs in his first 3 games as a player. First in NFL history. So this time we're the first on a good spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, so many things in this game. Like my whole thing last week was the Giants don't overcome anything, right? Giants, they overcame a lot of things to win this game. Yeah. They had 9 penalties. As Scott mentioned, they had the absolutely atrocious start, like the worst start you can imagine. And then we kind of get bailed out there. Jones throws an interception, as we were talking about just before we came on, that was probably going to end the game as early in the game that happened. But we get a third down call on that. I don't know, by the rules of roughing the passer, kind of, be hard one not to call, but we've seen worse ones not called. So it was just, it was just a very un-Giant-like fan experience. And we might talk about here coming up a little bit, I couldn't understand what world I was living in. I was sure the Giants were going to lose that game for every minute of it.
Oh, I was absolutely numb, guys, from the first 2 plays of the game. Think of how that game started, right? I all I could think about was I'm going to be just absolutely, just fiercely angry all day, the rest of the day. Right away, I'm just barking. As soon as Gray fumbled, I'm like, cut his ass right now. Get rid of this guy. I don't care. Cut everybody. And then the next play, right? Cleveland doing the right thing. Deshaun Watson, he throws the best throw he's ever thrown in his career, in his entire life. So yeah, unbelievable how that game started. But Mike, you just pointed out the which I didn't hear really anybody bring up. I didn't listen to a lot today, but I did not hear that roughing the passer come up too much. But Jones had thrown what an awful pick. Whether it was, I think it was Theo Johnson he was trying to hit there, the tight end, and he cut his route short or something, or whatever it was. The look on, did you guys see the camera?
He was done.
Picked up on Daboll, and he looked absolutely like a man lost. Like it was, and that everything like kind of like same with me. My body just went limp again, thinking like, here we fucking go, Daniel Jones, get rid of everybody, the whole thing. So that's how our day started, and. Couple things, Scott, can I just throw out a couple numbers already with Malik Nabers, or do you want to get into it a little bit later?
Go right ahead.
This is shocking, right? I mean, Nabers, it's unbelievable that we found, we have a bona fide star, number 1 receiver. When was the last time, in 3 weeks, he's leading the league in targets by a lot. He's got 37 targets. The next closest guy, I think, is St. Brown with 32. He's second in the NFL in receptions with 23, only trailing Rice of the pass-happy Kansas City Chiefs. And he's tied for the league lead with 3 touchdowns. So, the main categories, receptions, and he's 5th in yards. And that's for the league. Other than Odell Beckham, we haven't had anything close to this. But here's the one thing, guys. Again, I mentioned it last week, is that the one thing that we're just bad at is we don't know how to have a second wide receiver. We don't know how to have a second star in our team. We just had Saquon Barkley for 5 years, and there's no one around the guy. It's great that we have Malik Nabers, but eventually, what's going to happen when he is shut down in a game? Then what?
I think we saw in this game, though, at least Wandale stepped up a couple of times.
He did.
Slayton got hurt. Once Slayton got hurt, that we had no production from either him or Hyatt, but it was either Wandale, Singletary on some screen passes, or Nabers.
And Bellinger had a catch.
Bellinger had a good catch, yeah.
And Bellinger
yarder.
And Bellinger had a nice catch, but and I know we'll get into this, but and the other side of the ball, when was the last time you saw a defensive game plan where we just blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and didn't stop blitzing? It was unbelievable to be on that side of the ball and watching our team get after the quarterback. We had 8 sacks. I don't know.
Sacks.
I think they
8
showed
sacks, 18 hurries.
Yeah, it was incredible.
18 hurries.
And phenomenal game plan. And I know we'll talk about the Dallas game, later tonight about that. I want to see a lot of the same stuff, but I was just barking at Deshaun Watson because that guy sucks. I mean, he's
terrible.
I think we were texting. I'm like, the Cleveland Browns stink. I know the Giants, they just rose up and had a great game plan. Finally, how we always bark about what's the game plan? They had a game plan. Offensively, they had, a good mix. With Singletary, he's got to clean up the fumbles. That's for sure. I wrote that down. Like, man, he's got to get that taken care of. But best defensive game plan we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you do. I mean, I don't know if Jones has been coached up to this. I don't know if the coaching staff, but you got to take deep shots in this league. You've got to, or you'll be overwhelmed. And the Giants, I don't even know what the number was. I had it written down here, but I can't find it. The number of times the ball was in the air over 20 yards. It was like 9.
I think
6
it was
or 8
10.
or something.
I think it was 10 this time. We only completed 2 of them, so that is something to work on. But it kept them honest the rest of the time, and
it kept them.
Yeah.
Kept them honest. I mean, that's all. That's really all you got to do. Don't think of it as a wasted down. Throw it down there. Get a pass interference. You got Nabers down there. Get a great catch. At the very least, you let them know you're going to do it. I mean, the Giants had plays of drives of 13 and 14 plays in the first half. Yeah. Kind of the opposite of what happened to us against Washington last week. And we didn't chew up a lot of clock with those plays. The tempo was good. I heard some people complain about going into a shell in the second half. They really didn't. I mean, we had one very promising drive end on a penalty. We had another end on a fumble. Those were unfortunate, but a couple of times in the second half, we kept getting punted back inside our own 10 or 15. And the last thing you want to do in a game you're controlling like this and your defense is playing so well is make a mistake down there. I like the way we played. I thought we played smart with the ball when we were backed up. We had that one, I think it was after their fumble, where we started at like around midfield. Maybe it was our own 45 or something. But immediately, 2 deep shots to Nabers immediately. So kind of hard to say we went into a shell right there. We didn't really execute all that well, but we kept trying to move the ball. So
yeah, I think that one deep shot to Nabers is probably the one that Jones would want to have back. He had him open, missed him down the sideline. The other thing is too, we missed a field goal. We missed a makeable field goal. It was overcame. It was a 46 yarder.
It was
whatever.
48 to be exact. I had that. And you just pointed out a couple things, guys. We all saw the same thing. It's funny. Our analysis is it's almost mirror image, right? We could not flip the field position in the second half, right? And the third quarter just seemed to take forever. I think we had 5 straight possessions. And you just mentioned it, Mike. Though we had one, killer penalty, the fumble with Singletary, but then we punted 5 straight times. And obviously Cleveland, they understood the situation. They rose up and played much better defense in the second half. The one drive that really pissed me off, though, it wasn't a drive. It was after we stopped him. It was 21-15 with I'm trying to remember how much it was. Just under 4 minutes. It's when we stopped Watson on the 4th and short. We had the ball at their 29, and I thought those 3 plays were just absolutely just a give up. Where we're trying to, Dayball actually acted like it was a 29-yard field goal instead of like a 48-yard field goal.
Yeah,
and especially having a guy like Greg Joseph, we don't know, the guy was on the fucking couch last week. So, that was the one time I really lost my shit in the second half was because you're trying to ice that game. They needed just even 10 yards there, or even 8 yards, maybe maybe didn't even need a first down. Just to get to like maybe a 40-yard field goal at most. And that's where I thought Dayball just kind of shelled up there. And then we ended up missing the kick. And that's where I was going wild because I was thinking like, my God, can't we just close out a game? Who deals with this? The kicking situation. Yep. We need a kicker, by the way. We got to bring in a couple more guys. But and then the defense made another crazy stop after that. Actually got a little help from the drop on That was in the guy's. I was on. Oh my God, who was the receiver on Cleveland who dropped the that last pass there? But it wasn't
Jerry Jeudy.
No, it was the third receiver.
Elijah Moore.
No, it was Tillman.
Actually, Tillman.
No.
Yeah,
it was Tillman. I just looked
receiver.
at it there. And then but you already highlighted Jones. Another thing early on, Jones missed a number of deep balls. Not a number. He missed a couple deep balls that could have been some really big plays there. So. I'd rather have that than underthrow and have interception or bullshit like that. But all in all, like we just said, pretty satisfying game to say the least.
I saw a lot of people putting that drop on Wan'Dale Robinson on Jones, and that's one of those plays where I think if you're Robinson, you have to do whatever you can to catch that ball. Earlier in the game, he did what he had to do on a third down, and then was short of the sticks by a yard. We made the fourth down when we did the jet sweep to Nabers, and I thought to myself, Robinson, just catch the ball and fall forward rather than catch the ball and go backwards. And so I like Wan'Dale Robinson's shiftiness. I'm not sure about his game awareness yet.
Yeah, that's something that was his rookie year too. He was a little bit like that. Yeah, it's sad that we're in a position where every play has to be nitpicked because it's Daniel Jones of whose fault was the incomplete. Like it goes on the quarterback stat line. Just, it's receiver drops it or not, just let it go, man. Geez.
Yeah. And if you watch the plays back, even that play in the end zone where there was the overthrow to Johnson, if you watch Theo Johnson stops his route rather than continuing to run to the back. If he ran to the back, he probably could have just reached up and grabbed that ball. And that interception that was thrown to him too, same thing. Yeah. Mike alluded to it. If you watch it, he cuts his route short and turns to the inside. Jones throws the outside. Now was that Jones at fault or Johnson at fault? We don't know. We don't know where that ball is supposed to be. But regardless, I mean, those are both on a rookie tight end. So, maybe he's not up to speed completely yet. That's supposedly some of the whispers about why Hyatt isn't getting playing time either. He's not running the right routes, or he's, not coming back to the ball and things like that.
Yeah, they do that thing with him where every time he's in the game, he just runs a fly. Like there's no, he's not there to do anything else. Just
Ronaldo Nehemiah.
Ahead. Yeah.
Remember guys like that back in the 80s, like Willie Galt and Ronaldo Nehemiah?
Oh, yeah.
They just brought him out there, and they would just run a fly like 3 times a game, and they'd probably connect on one of them.
They would hit him every now and then, yeah. But the first touchdown to Nabers I thought was a miracle because after we miss Johnson, right? Which again, Mike, he wasn't tiptoeing backwards, but we had a wide open tight end in the middle of the end zone, which is a far-fetched thing for us. And then when it got to third down, I'm like, here we go. It's going to be, we're going to miss out. It's going to be a field goal instead of a touchdown. To get that touchdown on third down after missing it on first, I thought was obviously gigantic. I feel like we usually miss out on those kinds of opportunities. So right then it was 14-7. And after the way the game started, I was thinking, man, we it's like one of those road games where I was like, I have a good feeling because the defense was already establishing their rush, I thought. And and then when, and then Cleveland fumbled and then we obviously went up 21-7 there. Then it was like, holy shit, can't lose this game. Just like that.
Yeah. I got to throw this out to you guys. When you're down 14 points, Do you know the logic for going for 2 after scoring a touchdown there?
What was that?
There isn't any.
Because I'll tell you this, we were all on the same page going, what the hell is he doing here? I watched a segment today, and it was math nerds basically, and they were saying that by the numbers, that's the smart play because you give yourself extra chances to win the game. What? My attitude is, if you're the home team, you're not afraid of going to overtime.
No,
you're not. I mean, that's been the sort of rule forever.
On top of it, have they watched their quarterback play? He's going to get a 2-point conversion. I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course.
If it's Patrick Mahomes, fine, but I don't understand that at all.
There were a couple of times in that game I wanted to know if Jonathan Vilma would have had a different opinion had the outcome been different. Because as soon as they made the 2-pointer, I love this call. This is a great call. But
of course you do, Vilma.
Well, they always mention
if you want to coach. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
You're good.
If you want to coach balls out in that situation, then go for the win after you get the last touchdown. Right? You want to coach, but why do it there? Because then if you fail there, you're still down by 8, and then that 2-point conversion. Well, then you have to go for it. It's just to tie. There's no pressure on that decision. You want to coach balls out and be that kind of coach. Then go for the win. For 22. Go for the 22-21 win at the end of the game.
Yeah. Whenever they make comments like that to defend the analytics choice, that comment is completely based on whether or not they make it. It's like they assume you're going to make it when they say that it's the right play. Well, it's the right play if you make it.
Yeah.
If you miss it, you now have to go for 2 to tie the game if you score again. And if you don't get that, you're fucked. So it's like, it's always acts like, well, it's a foregone conclusion that you'll get it. And as I don't know if this has changed over time, but I think forever, ever since 2 points have been reintroduced, the make percentage on those, it's a coin flip on those things.
Yeah, it's actually less than 50%, I believe. I think it's like something.
What are the numbers so far this year? Yeah, do we know the numbers this year yet,
I don't
guys?
know this year, but I think in the last,
I'm gonna look that up.
I think last year it was in the mid 40s or something.
I was just curious if they're trending up, because he's all these analytics and stuff. But you're right, Scott. Isn't it usually like around 48, 46%? It's just under half, right?
Yeah,
still
under half.
Yeah.
And the good. I was texting at the time because I just wanted him to score, just put the nail in the coffin. But the right play was what Devin Singletary did at the end and slide down, because at that point you take knees and the game's completely over. Still would have been, if you're up 2 scores at that point, 2 TDs, you're still mathematically at a 99.5% chance to win. But hey, kudos to Singletary for giving it up personally and assuring we had the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I liked it, in most cases, I would have been just fine with him scoring there. The way that game had gone, it's Deshaun Watson who looks completely out of his element. Just score there. We're going to win that game. The one thing that after he did it made me think, was that 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Because then if they don't need 2 touchdowns to tie, they need 2 touchdowns to win at that point. So, maybe at that point, you're like, okay, well, let's just get out of here. My fantasy team would tell you otherwise, however.
So going to the Jets-Pats. We almost took the layer of dust off of Cardone's Grey Goose bottle. It didn't happen because of the way things got in the fourth quarter, but you could have opened a Grey Goose bottle, Novak. You had a Grey Goose game. You guys suffocated the Pats. And what we realize is that the Dick is accurate and in charge compared to Zach Wilson, and he also hates hugs.
Yeah, you had to finish with that, didn't you? You're giving the Jets props finally, but whatever.
At the end, something still has to be about the Dick in a game that they win.
He has to make it about him every time.
I don't know the reference to the he hates hugs, so I might have to be brought in on that. No, I didn't get that.
So after one of the touchdowns, he comes to the sideline and Salah's about ready to embrace him in a hug, and Rodgers does like a push off to him and gives him like
him away.
The death stare, like looks at him like, dude, don't even touch me.
God.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. But so I'll go into that. My first win in probably, I don't know. No, anything I'm about to say, I say with the caveat, I understand how bad the Patriots are. So, all right. So just know that I know that they suck, but I have not had a win like that, and probably I'm not joking, guys. 20 years where I felt I wasn't worried after the first quarter that they were going to lose that game. I could have Grey Goose that thing in the beginning of the second quarter. It was just they dominated them from the outset. Rodgers looked great. What I loved best about this game was that the players that really made an impact are not the normal ones that you hear from the Jets, right? Tyler Conklin had a huge game. Chuck Clark from a safety position had an interception and a sack, or no, he knocked out a fumble. Alan Lazard played well. Mike Williams, Jamie and Sherwood, who filled in for C.J. Mosley, just a balanced on both sides of the ball. They dominated. Quick stats. My favorite stat of all: 10 of 15 on third down. Now, I know it's the Patriots, but that's incredible.
Good again. That's good against anybody.
That's good against anybody.
That is backbreaking for a defense that you can't get off the field. Yeah.
10 of 15. Yeah. I mean, come on.
66%.
Yep. 61 passing yards for the Pats, 78 rushing yards to the Jets, 400 total. Total domination, but that's what they should do, right? They should be beating up on these bad teams, and they did. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. I was pumped as hell. They looked great, but, on to Denver. So what I would say to the Jets organization is, you see what's going on in the league right now. Go for it. Go get Hassan Reddick in here. If you can trade for Devontae Adams, do it. You get these chances once in a lifetime. I don't want to get. I'm dancing to my pet peeve right now, but I will just leave it at that. This is our go for it year.
So was Devontae Adams the Raider that Antonio Pierce was talking about that was not giving his all?
I sure as hell hope so. I mean, I don't think it
just
was.
A wish,
that's a wish.
We're just wishing on that.
Yeah, it was. But because he ended that statement saying that they're going to make some business decisions. I'm like, please, we'll take them. We'll take them off your hands.
We will be your business partner.
By the way, that was a great statement by Antonio Pierce, calling out his team, saying there are guys in the field that made some business decisions. We're going to make some business decisions.
That was a good one.
That was refreshing. I got to be honest.
I was just thinking when Costanza and Seinfeld went back to NBC, and it's like, let's do business. Let's do business. Let's go do business. Business. Let's do business.
So we flipped the script this week. So Thursday night now, the Giants play the Cowboys. We know the Giants' proclivity to play poorly on primetime games. They're in a primetime game at home, and the Jets play the Broncos. I believe that's a 1:00 game because it's in New York.
Yep.
Yeah. So Giants are at home as well, so they have time to turn around the stadium to make it green for the Jets. But no, thinking about Thursday, I mean, this is an interesting game for me because the Cowboys are clearly struggling right now. So does this become their get well game? We always talk about in the last few years how teams get well against the Giants. Is this their get well game? It looked like there was some friction with Lamb and Dak on the sidelines. Dak, since getting that contract, has come under fire. And guys, that score against the Ravens was a lot closer than that game really was, much like I think the Giants-Browns score was a lot closer than it should have been, especially if Singletary were to score that last touchdown. But what we've seen in this past week is that teams like the Broncos, there are teams that rose up from being 0-2 to win games, and teams that were undefeated ended up losing. So the Saints ended up, taking the loss. We saw other teams change their fortunes. The Panthers got a big win, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So I'm always leery of the Giants on a primetime game. I don't know what it is. It spans several coaches now and several players.
Yeah, it's out there. It's not just a feeling we have. They are not good in primetime. They just historically haven't been. Now, I think people have heard me on this podcast before saying, and this comes straight from my dad when I was growing up, that's how long this has been going on. He said, well, we're always on primetime. We always play really good teams on the road. That's why the game's on primetime. And, they want the New York TV audience for that game. So they put it on the road. And if you look back at the history, a lot of that is exactly that. It's exactly what it is. But the bottom line is here lately, since Eli left, we had some primetime success when Eli was here, but we had some real embarrassing things too. But this is just not who we're playing and where we're playing them. We've stunk. We've stunk, and we have been just a bad team too since Eli left. So, but yeah, it's not a mirage. It's not something that every fan feels like their team's that way. Well, Pittsburgh fans don't feel that way. Raider fans don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. This is a real thing. So we'll have another thing to overcome. Last week I said we don't overcome anything. We play in a game where we overcame a lot of stuff. Let's keep it rolling.
This is without a doubt a nightmare matchup in terms of timing and when we're getting this Dallas Cowboy team. For the reasons you just listed, Mike, we never beat this team in prime time. We never beat them at home. And what's funny is whatever's going on with Dallas, and I watched a lot of that game against the Ravens, and we saw what's been going on, last couple of weeks, for Dallas at home and giving up a lot of points. Their run defense, I think, is the worst in the NFL right now in terms of yards per game, yards per carry, all that bullshit. So, Scott, you just asked, is this their get right game? Without question, this is their get right game. And it's in a short week too, but that won't matter. They're a short week on the road because guess what? The Giants, we just had our get right game. So we're going to go right back to being the Giants on Thursday. People would look at me like I'm crazy because this is, Dallas is struggling. They're dysfunctional, this and that. That's all you saw on Get Up and all that bullshit, on ESPN this morning. You watch Thursday, we are going to see that Cowboy defense is going to be just running fucking ripsaw in the Giants in the Giants backfield on Thursday night. So this is a nightmare matchup, nightmare timing. And I know I'm getting into predictions here as far as what I'm going to predict. You can probably tell where I'm going. I just think we're getting Dallas at the worst time. You think you would want to get a team when they're struggling? Oh no, this is I think a nightmare for the Giants getting Dallas right now because they're going to get a lot of things corrected in only 3 days, but that's my prediction as far as what's going to happen on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's not. Go ahead, Novak.
No, I would just say real quick, the one thing the Cowboys don't want other than to lose to the Giants, they do not want this Malik Nabers national coming out party against them.
No doubt.
The team that has had historic wide receivers for decades. That Dick CeeDee Lamb is do not let that guy shine over me on national television. So they are going to do everything in their power to take him away. But I do think it'll open up some things for you guys.
Although I know this, the last time the Giants had a wide receiver show them up on national TV, they ended up losing the game.
Is that
the game catch? Anyway. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember the final score. Nobody else, the rest of the country doesn't, but I certainly do.
If Dable back to Cardone's point, Dable has to do something to see that coming. Like he said, I don't know how anyone doesn't see this coming. This is like a train rolling right at us. And Dable's got to do something to stop that. And I think the thing to do this week is go, guys, you just dominated this team. You just dominated them. But because of these 8 things, we had to sweat it out at the end. If we clean that up, we can play with anybody. So he's got that coaching at least point. It would have been way worse, Cardone. I don't know if you agree with me, if we beat the Browns 31-10 and then are coming into this game. To me, that would have been that would be a trade. Well, you could see that thing.
I look at this early in the season, guys, but there, history tells you, you can't look away from historical percentages of teams that make the playoffs versus teams that don't. And all these games, this isn't, every single game is so critical. And let me ask you guys this question. Think about this. The Giants somehow find a way to win this game. Well, are the football gods going to allow the Giants to go to 2-2 and be in the mix and have maybe salvage something out of this season? And Dallas is going to go to 1-3 and they're the team that just disappears and goes off the rails? Or is it going to be the other way around? I just look at it simply from the fact of, let's look at our team's wins and loss record. Is Dallas going to 1-3? I just find it almost impossible. You can give X and O's all day, and we'll give our reasons why we think, but I just look at that one factor, and it's are the Giants going to somehow get to 2-2 and save something, at least save the first half of the season and send Dallas, packing for the season? It's just so hard to see that.
I do know this: if the Giants are going to win, Jones is going to have to play well at home, which he hasn't done in recent memory. Novak, we got the Jets-Broncos. Broncos come off their first win. Drew Lock had some highlight, or not Drew Lock. Bo Nix had some highlight plays running the ball more than throwing them, but they did get a big win, and they're on the scoreboard, so they have a little bit of momentum. They got to go cross country to play the Jets. Thoughts?
Well, I actually love it when you play a team that actually gets the monkey off their back and get their win. Right? I would have rather them played after having won than have them be 0-3. So I was actually rooting for the Broncos to win. But remember this from 2 years ago. This is the revenge game for Aaron Rodgers, because this is Sean Payton, who called his buddy Nate Hackett the worst coach in the history of the NFL. And Rodgers called out Payton and was all pissed off. And Aaron Rodgers is, as much as we know he's a dick, he does not like people calling him out and his friends out. I think I expect him to have a big game. This, again, a team at home they should beat. There's no reason they should lose. We'll get into predictions in a bit. I think it's a good matchup with the Broncos. One thing that does scare me is the Bronco game over the last, this is our third year in a row we played them, but we've lost players to season-ending injuries in both of the Bronco games. Breece Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker in the Bronco game, so that worries me. But other than that, look, the Jets are the better team. They're the more talented team. There's no reason they should lose this game.
Yeah,
by the way,
I was just a quick point. The I think the same way. I always look at you could look at matchups and all this other thing. Just what you said. When looking at a team where you don't want Denver coming in 0-3 and not having a win yet and playing, because that's when desperation, freaky things happen in a game, something like that. They're feeling good about themselves right now, and that's where I think they're going to get whacked, by the Jets on another tough road game. My other point was that's why I said all week. I said to a specific Eagle fan that we're going to get blown out by the Saints. They're going to roll it. I said, nope. Eagles are going to win that game because that's the NFL. It's just the way it works, right? We've seen this. We've watched this game our whole lives, guys. And I knew without, and I don't care. I wasn't watching that game, obviously. It was on the same time the Giants were going. And I kept thinking, I don't care what's going on in that game. We could talk about Sirianni if you want, Scott. We can do that too. And this guy. Anyway, that's a long drawn out point, Novak, too. To agree with you in terms of.
You probably were half rooting for the Ravens. The Cowboys to beat the Ravens so that you could get them off of a win.
In a crazy way, I was okay with that. But as the game's going on, no. When the Ravens had the big lead, you're like, no, fuck it, pour it on. You get carried away. But to your point, it's one of those things where would I be, because now
it could work in your favor if they had won.
Yeah, and because another loss, they're in desperation. They're under the spotlight. They're going to come out like rabid dogs on Thursday night. So that's what happens.
Yeah, I do think that you sometimes get a team, but you never can tell because there's teams that go on slides and those slides continue. I don't see that happening with Dallas either. But let's go to our predictions now. Last time I had to wait till we were midway through our questions. I had completely forgotten about the segment. So let's go to the predictions. I'll let Mike spell out the order again.
All right. By
the way, as we're talking, I forgot to mention we are recording this on a Monday. We normally do a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We're recording this on a Monday when there are, by the way, 2 Monday night games going on simultaneously. For whatever fucking reason, the league has done that. Right. This was a pet peeve before.
Stupid.
Yep.
And
still don't understand that.
And as I'm watching the game, Damar Hamlin Bills just dropped a touchdown pass, but Damar Hamlin just had an interception, which this year he might actually earn the comeback player of the year. It's not just given to him because he almost died. It might be earned.
It was the funny line of 2023 for Scott last year. He's going to win it because he's not dead.
Yep, that's his criteria. That's his resume.
It's not like he was competing against Dwayne Haskins.
Oh God!
I just thought I'd keep giving the pod Dwayne Haskins references.
Yeah,
why not?
Apparently, you don't think it's too soon to go.
All right, Mike. All right. I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So the predictions this week, we got Novak leading the pack at 6-0. So we'll have him start, and whichever game you want to do first, Novak.
Well, obviously I gave it away with the Jets. Look, I hate betting on the Jets or saying that they're going to win. I really do. But I have to think that this is a game that they should dominate. I actually do like that. Like I said, the Broncos won their game, so I'm going to take the Jets here, 28-13. The Giants. I've been flip-flopping on this all day long, and I was going into the pod. I was thinking I'm going to take the Giants because I thought that exactly what I said. I think the Cowboys are a team on the decline. There's something off there. And the thing that no one talks about for the Cowboys that needs to be said, how do you go into the year at your running back position with Rico Dowdle and the 2017 corpse of Zeke Elliott? Like, to me, that's just malpractice from an organizational standpoint. But after having heard you guys for the last half an hour tell me about how they're going to get rolled, I can't take the Giants, so I'm going to take the Cowboys, 35-21.
Cardone.
Well, I'll start with.
So, by the way, Mike, what is Cardone, you and I now?
We're all 4-2.
We're all 4-2.
So Novak, I didn't realize you took the Giants against the Browns. I didn't even remember that.
Yep.
Damn.
Okay. His score was, by the way, 17-13, which was kind of really felt out how that game kind of played out in the end. So, yeah.
Wow. Guy's off to a good start, man. All right.
He understands the Giants way better than we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't figure anything out. But I'll start with the Giants, and it looks like I'm going with not the same exact score, but the same margin of defeat. You just heard me rant about the Giants and why I think they'll lose this game, so I won't kind of break it down any further. It's not necessary. For some reason, this is just a token primetime Met Death score. I'm going with the 31-17 loss for Big Blue, and then the Jets. I think we just talked about it. I see Denver going into a little bit of a buzzsaw. I think the Jets stay really hot. I see a score. I think I predicted a score similar to this last week. They dominated New England. I think you're catching Denver at a good time. They got off to Schneid last week with their first win of the year. So not a high scoring game. I have the Jets close to what you just said, Novak, too. For some reason I have 26. Maybe there's a missed extra point or some shit in there. I got the Jets 26-13, doubling them up.
Scotty.
So I'll start with the Jets. So thinking the same way you guys are. Denver got off the Schneid. Bo Nix is going to come back and play a defense that will be in his face all day. I don't even see them scoring a touchdown. I see a couple field goals, maybe 3 field goals. I see the Jets winning this game 23-9. And then on the Giants side, every fiber in my body wants to say this is a prime time loss. This is it for them. But Malik Nabers is in the building. Malik Nabers is going to make some plays here. And I am the eternal optimist. You guys know I am. And the Giants, in a classic game against Dallas, are going to overcome another 60-plus yard field goal by Aubrey in a meaningless time. Last time they kicked it 65-yarder in like the middle of the first quarter or whatever. So they're going to kick a 63-yarder probably at the start of the third quarter. And the Giants are going to win 27-24. 2-2, right there in position to win the division.
I would love that.
Wow. They always give you that stat after 0-2 every year. We have to hear, it's the percentage of 0-2. What if 2-2? What if you're 2-2? I wish they kind of carry that on. I'd like to see those numbers for a 2-2 team. So I will start with the Jets because I think it's interesting here how similar all of our scores here, right? So Novak's got 28-13. Cardone's got 26-13. Scott has 23-9, and Mike has 26-10. So those are, and I actually wrote that. I wrote mine in there before you guys were done. So I just thought that was funny that they all just lined up right in there. For the Giants, this is there's no way I can pick the Giants here, but I will tell you this. Last week the Giants won a football game. So that means I can now officially pick them against the Panthers.
That is correct.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Mike. It's funny you said that. I was thinking like, well, I won't pick them until they win. I'm like, and here we are 4 days later. I'm like, they're going to get blown out, 14 points at home.
Yep. I've got this just being a replay of our game last year against Dallas. I think we come off with more than just the dick we did last year, but I've got 42-18 because it has to be some silly score because of our kicking situation, right? We're going to end up having to go for 2 or miss a field goal or miss an extra point. Something's weird's going to happen. So it's got to be a goofy score. So I've got Dallas beating us 42-18.
By the way, I just re-listened to the pod from last week, and it was fun because Mike was basically saying he would even pick the Panthers if the Giants hadn't won a game yet. He says he's not picking the Giants until the Giants win a game. So
yeah,
both you and Cardone were dying on that hill. I was ready to do it if I had to do it.
By the way, I just looked this up yesterday, I think, guys, and I was looking at the Giants schedule of 2025 because it's still the same format, right? Where you have we know that, the opponent you're playing, and we play at the NFC South next year. So we play NFC, we play the entire NFC North division, but that one game outside, or the 2 games outside rather, is NFC West at home. So we have a chance for the Giants to be here again next year. Of course, they both have to finish in the same place, right, in the division. So if there's one good thing about finishing, assuming Carolina, ends up in last place, didn't look like it yesterday the way Andy Dalton was slinging it around Vegas, but we have a chance next year, guys, for the Giants to be back here.
Even if we get it, Cardone, they'll probably move the game to Iraq or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of the Panthers, are going around the league. Panthers get off the schneid. A lot of 0-2 teams did, but they were particularly impressive in that they didn't just go into Las Vegas and win. They went and they had themselves a Grey Goose game, and Andy Dalton looked like he was throwing the ball like prime Jake Delhomme or something.
Yeah, don't know who had a worse Sunday than Bryce Young this week. That looks incredibly bad for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you can't bring him back now unless Dalton gets hurt. The only way he's coming back is if they're mathematically eliminated. Then he comes back. Until then, he's riding the pine.
Guys, all facets of their game look great too. Like they were decent on defense, but Chuba Hubbard had his best game in a long time too. They finally got Xavier Legette involved, the rookie wide receiver from South Carolina. Just the Panthers themselves, they exploded, and so it makes you wonder: was it really that bad of a move for them to pick the Smurf?
Yes, I think we all said it. I mean, it goes down as one of the worst draft picks of all time. I mean, it has to.
Yeah. And Scott, we've been watching this our whole lives, guys. Like, isn't it amazing when you bring in the second string quarterback, like you just said, Scott? But everything else seems to just magically fall into place. Like the offensive line is is run blocking. Special teams gets like a big return, or they cause a fumble. The entire team just rises up somehow, and everything falls into place. In addition to the quarterback play, it's a miracle how that happens all the time. It's crazy. Yeah. Now here's I already predicted. Watch, this is Dalton will he'll lay an egg now this week.
Of course he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it looks really bad for him. And like everyone pointed out, man, the rest of the team played lights out. Every position on the field was playing lights out. How much of that is just they all had a good game on the right day, and how much of it is Andy Dalton gives us a chance to win? So I'm coming with my A game today.
Yeah.
It could be, you don't want to think that. I like Bryce Young as a person. So I don't want to wish bad things on him, but that looks really bad. Really bad.
So there's a game yesterday that had it happened to the Giants, we would have all been livid. I don't know if you saw this, but in the Lions-Cardinals game, it's about ready to hit the 2-minute warning in the first half.
You're on my pet peeve. That's all right. That's all right. I've got 2 of them. I actually have a backup. No, please go, Scott. It's cool. Go ahead.
The Lions snap the ball, which looks like clearly before the 2-minute warning, and it turns into a pick 6 for Arizona. And as Arizona's running down the field, the official's like, They're blowing the play dead.
Yeah.
And
calm down, everyone. No one's getting a pick six. No one. Calm down, Arizona fans.
They take a pick six away from a play that was legally snapped before the 2-minute warning, and there wasn't a damn thing Arizona could do to remedy that.
No.
I did not see that.
Yeah. And you know what's great? So, Scott, it sounded like you were watching. I was watching that game live, and they slowed it down in like super slow motion. And I think, and I have said this before about other teams where, like, you know, like Detroit was being like clever and savvy, where they probably, you know, maybe they were expecting the defense to kind of, you know, like the defense either at the end of the quarter or at the end of the half, in this situation was a 2-minute warning. We're like, they're not really going to snap the ball. And they did. They did that intentionally. And to your point, Scott, Goff drops back, fucking throws it off the offensive lineman's helmet or something like that. The ball gets deflected up in the air. They return it, like you said, and they went back to super slow motion, and it was 2:01, and that freaking ball's being snapped. And here comes the official coming in, like, you son of a bitch, coming in there and it was Arizona ended up losing by 7, a one-score game. Yeah. They blew that play dead. Why? So if that's not over officiating, and I call it the anticipation bullshit, just like in the NBA. If, you know, where the anticipation foul or whatever, where it's you know, the whistle's being blown before there's contact, that play is being blown dead for what reason?
This brings us back to the discussion point we always have at the the play clock. What is a beat? What is the 2-minute warning? Have something. Like, have something red pop up. Just have some sort of visual evidence so that if you want to go back and review a play, you could do it and say, wait a minute, the red was on before that ball came out of the snap. You can't do that now under the current rules.
You know how they do that in the NBA with the shot clock, and they have it superimposed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because in the NBA, the minute that 0 shows, it's over, because that makes fucking sense, right? It doesn't make any sense to not have it stop it. What doesn't stop at 0?
Soccer clocks.
Yeah.
Well, true.
Actually, soccer clocks start at 0. They don't stop at 90 or 45.
Can you imagine the mess in the NBA if they said, like, no, you get a beat after it hits 0? A beat.
a non-denominational beat.
Yeah, that would be chaos. First of all, it's minutes and seconds. What is a beat? It's not a thing.
That's not a measure of time.
So I would have been
so stupid.
Watching that. I would have been livid as a Giant fan. Like, you know, come on, what can you do about this? And the Cardinal coach after the game was asked about it. He's like, we can't control this kind of thing. That's out of our control. And he's perfectly right. But it's bullshit that they lost a game because of official malpractice is what it basically was.
But these guys know that they're risking fines and all other kinds of bullshit if that matters to these guys, you know, like why I think they don't go more wild on the refs. I don't know how they have the self-control to not blast the refs, like with something like that. With that, you know, that is just an inexcusable officiating gaffe. I love the word gaffe, you know, like where just they blew that call and it cost Arizona a touchdown.
I mean, I find it really hard to believe that Scott would be pissed if that happened to the Giants. I mean,
he'd be like, well, oh well.
Scott's he's screaming over the opponent's jersey being untucked. I mean, come on.
Tucked or untucked? I think I was tucked. Yeah. Sometimes I tuck, sometimes I don't tuck. I think I was tucked.
So I'm going to leave Novak out of this, not just because of that damn comment, but because he knows the answer to this. But
Scott, do you have the power to mute us? Do you have a mute control?
I'd love that. Yeah. Like the what's the show on ESPN where you like silence a guy for a while, you give everyone else points? I'm giving Cardone 2 points indiscriminately.
Oh yeah. The one I know the show you're talking about.
You should give a listener that. You can give Lowe the opportunity that I wouldn't be able to say a word.
Yeah.
Muted. Negative.
Or yeah, we have like an electrical shock system where like we can like zing each other on
I'd be dead.
Who was the guy from Boston, Woody Austin, that would have the saying in the background?
Yes,
or whatever,
on a little chalkboard over his right over his shoulder, a little chalkboard.
Yeah. So no, Novak knows the answer to this, but do you guys know who the only 2 NFC teams are that are undefeated right now?
Seattle and Minnesota.
Yeah.
I didn't
well,
know
Sorry, did I
Seattle.
answer? Wait,
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cardone
I didn't
got
know
it.
Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know Seattle.
By the way, I do
Unbelievable.
have to show this off. So those on the stream can't see this, but my sister brought me. So my brother-in-law's brother, Evan Margolin, is a season ticket holder, and he gave me this fantastic box of the Giants 100-year anniversary. So all season ticket holders got this. So it's got the 4 replica Super Bowl rings, and it's got this, which is basically like 100 years ticket. And then if you go to the flip side, it has the first ticket they ever had, the Giants versus the
awesome.
Philadelphia Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets.
So
They lost that game to a bad call. It was a bad call.
It actually stands a test of time a lot longer than a medium Pepsi.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They had to.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really classy that they gave that to the season ticket holders. Thank Evan for that. That's an awesome gift to give me.
Yeah, that thing's
really
awesome.
Incredible. I'm not going to be one of those guys that actually wears the rings out in public.
Wears the rings?
Definitely should. Wear it to the bar once. That'd be great.
I was aware of that, Scott, as far as not the gift from your brother-in-law, but the season ticket. So Greg, of course, my brother has season tickets, and he received that same gift pack there. So it's kind of cool. So he's got that to cherish. Let's add to the fucking ring. So I don't want to be stuck at 4 for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger box.
Well, Novak's looking at me like you're an asshole.
Well, no. I was gonna say our box would just be one middle finger with one ring on it, and that's it.
And a video of David going, "I want to kiss you, Susie."
Yeah, picture of the butt fumble, something. There'd be something in there.
But speaking of the butt fumble, did you see the exposed ass from the Miami quarterback this week?
No.
Oh,
Definitely missed that.
So there's literally a defensive player pulled the guy's pants down. He's got a full moon staring in the camera. You guys didn't see this?
I somehow missed that.
Did not see it. And
really?
Just a word of warning, guys, don't Google that because that's going to be on your history. So
Yeah.
Wait, was this the backup to the backup? Because
I don't know if it was Skylar Thompson or if it was
Tim
the other
Boyle?
guy that came.
Awful, by the
Tim
way.
Boyle.
Tim Boyle, touchdown.
So
Tim
Google-
Boyle, former
Google
Jet.
both Skylar Thompson's ass and Tim Boyle's ass and see
I
what
will not.
happens.
and see what comes up.
For those of you not watching, with 19 seconds left in the first half, the Bills lead 34-3, and Josh Allen has 4 touchdown passes.
So someone's having a fantasy comeback on a Monday night.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else from around the league?
Real quickly, I just want to mention that the Kansas City Chiefs thing is actually.
Oh,
I'm
actually,
very serious about it. Now I'm getting really pissed. Not like jokey, angry. Like enough is enough with this. Every week, these guys are getting away with something or not getting something called on them. I am tired of it. Stop it. It's enough.
I will say this. Last week, they had a call against the Bengals for pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
This week, Kyle Pitts is wide open in the end zone. And he's basically mauled by a Chief, and there's no flag.
Nope.
And the double standard can't continue.
It cannot.
And the worst part is, like, the announcers completely gloss over it. Like, all right, the announcers last night did say this was a penalty, but then the shows today were all about, well, the Chiefs overcome things to get the win. Mahomes and Kelsey aren't playing great, but they're getting the wins. Well, they're getting the wins because they're basically being handed wins. They've been handed 2 wins now.
Yeah, and I would just like to tell Goodell, listen, your ratings for the Super Bowl will be exponentially better if the Jets are in than the Chiefs. They just will. So just know this. I don't care about Taylor Swift. I don't care who Travis Kelce dates.
That's true.
If the Jets are in there, the ratings will be better. So start doing it our way, please.
I will say this: the Ravens had 2 penalties going into the second half of the last game against the Cowboys, and they ended up with 12.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's possible when you're winning a game handily, but that game got made very close at the end. Pet peeves. I'll start with Novak on the pet peeves.
All right, I got one quick one that I'm going to get out of the way. College football. Little message for college football. Stop it with Notre Dame. They're irrelevant.
Oh.
Enough. They shouldn't be in the top 20. Northern Illinois should not be in the top 25 for beating you because you suck. It's not Newt Rockne and play like a champion today anymore. No one cares about Notre Dame football. There were 20 games on Saturday. I didn't watch 1 second of them. No one cares about Notre Dame. Just stop with Notre Dame. So that was my Notre Dame thing. My bigger pet peeve is one that I hold close to my heart. I'm going to take you guys back to January 8th, 1983, which was the Mud Bowl AFC championship game, Jets-Dolphins, which you might know was the A.J. Dewey game.
Yeah.
A.J. Dewey.
As a young 12-year-old lad, I was led to believe that my Jets were going to the Super Bowl. Right? The media was all over it. I clipped out every article I could find. I was making jerseys of every Jet player. And that was the first time when they blew that game that it hit me that I'm going to be let down for the rest of my life. Every time someone starts talking Super Bowl with the Jets. They did it in 1986 when they won 10 straight games and they lost. Gastineau, they did it in 1998 when Billy blew out his Achilles. Last year with Rodgers. Anytime the media starts talking about the Jets in the Super Bowl, I get let down. Like that joke, like when I die, I want the Jets players to be my pallbearers so they can let me down one more time. Like, stop. My pet peeve is the media and everyone talking about the Jets. All they did was beat the Patriots, who suck. Stop talking about them. I don't want it anymore. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't want to be let down again. I will not buy into them until they're actually in one someday. So stop it. Thank you.
By the way, if you brought up Notre Dame, we got to say a couple words about Colorado, because everyone is talking about Colorado as if they are in the discussion again for being one of the top teams. And so my point before was that this is a 4 to 5 win team, which it is. Mm-hmm. And yet people are like, but you don't understand. Deion is taking over a team that was the worst in all of Division I before he took them over. So what? He's made them into a 4-win team?
I was watching that game live. Kit and I were out, and then we came home and that we ended up watching that game through overtime. And it was one of those, if you didn't see the end of it, just one of those absolute like ridiculous pull from your ass kind of wins, right? You guys know the box score. They the fourth down play and then fumbling to tie it in overtime. Unbelievable. And we were saying the same thing, but like Colorado, they're storming the fucking field. It's Baylor.
Yeah. And they were favored.
Exactly.
They weren't.
Storming the field. We were saying the same, like it's Baylor football. Like, I don't even, what were they? Like, who were they? Like they're not
winning. They're winning the games they're supposed to win.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they're goddamn NCAA champions.
I'm glad.
Meanwhile, they play against an actual team who's not even that great in Nebraska and get their asses blown out.
Now, granted, I was pissed off as I'm watching Colorado celebrate this win because just in shock, just because I don't even get the neutral games. It's bad enough my teams don't win any championships or do anything these days. But like the games where I don't really have skin in the game, my brother and I talk about this all the time. Like just when we want, like just because we dislike a team, like that's all we have left is like I just want them to lose, and we can't even get that. We don't even get the neutral shit. Like, we don't. It's like I gotta be miserable with everything.
When's the last time you've seen a team that used to be Division I AA like James Madison lay 70 on an actual
my God.
power conference opponent?
I was like, is that women's basketball? Because whenever you see scores like that, you're always like, that's not the right sport, right? You're like, no, that's not. Something's different there. That's not football. That's something else going on. That's Trivia Bowl or something. I don't know, but
that's when you see the ticker going on. We've talked about this where you see like NCAA W and you see like holy shit, Duke lost by 27. Like, oh my God, it's the women's. Never mind.
Wait a minute.
No, never mind. It's the women's. Mind. Yeah. I was gonna say go Sunbelt, but Novak, we can't talk about our App State Mountaineers. Good God.
I left that game after the first quarter, so I go watch the Jets. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was they were bad.
We don't need to bring that up. Even though I just did.
I left the Clemson NC State game for a different reason. So Clemson in the last two games against App State and NC State now in the first quarter, they were up 28-0 in one and 35-0 in the other. So, Mikey, pet peeve?
Yeah, I got a quick one here because I'm kind of watching the Bills and Jaguars on the side here. And of course, you're watching the Jaguars.
Jaguars.
So I'm watching not really the game, just sort of the play-by-play tick by, and the win probability follows it. So
yes,
I just want to mention that. So the Bills scored. They kicked off. Jacksonville got the ball with, less than a minute left, so less than 30 seconds left, I think. And so they were at 99.2% to win at that time. Then Travis Etienne up the middle for 2 yards. They went to 89.9 for that 2-yard run.
Oh.
And then when they just decided to take a knee and wait to the half, it went to 99.4. So I don't follow the. I don't know. I'm sorry,
this is awesome. This is like a real-time pet peeve as it's happening.
Yeah, as it's happening in real life right now. I'm sorry, it wasn't 89.9. It was 98.9. So it didn't fall like that much, but it went like it took almost a full point off for the 3-yard gain with 17 seconds left. I don't know. But my real pet peeve revolves around it. And I don't know what it was this weekend. And I was actually talking about it with Novak before. And I was glad to hear he noticed the same thing, because I heard it a lot this weekend and it started to get under my skin, as things tend to do. And it was just seemed like in every game, it just got mentioned. What a brutal place to play this. That was one of the toughest venues in the NFL, one of the toughest venues in college. I even heard it on Saturday. And I'm like, you know what a tough venue is? When the team is good and you gather 50,000 people who like that team together, that's going to be difficult. That's going to be a hard place to win a football game. When the team stinks and half the fans are there for the other team and there's no one's there, it's not going to be difficult. The building itself it's like I'm gonna feel like Hoosiers now. It's 100 yards, boys, one side to the other. It's the same width, and when the team's really good, guess what? Fans pile in there and they make a shit ton of noise, and that's just what you can't have one without the other. When the Giants are in the middle of this doldrum, go online and you hear people bitching about the fans. I'm like, what are they supposed to do? Jump around like idiots while we're being embarrassed? I mean, I don't understand. You just win games. And guess what? Giant Stadium becomes a pretty tough place to play. I'll bet. I don't know. I'm sorry I called it Giant Stadium. Met death. But I was talking about it before the game with Novak too. And it's like everyone picks on the fan experience, the atmosphere here at the Carolinas where the Panthers play. Well, I've been to probably more games there than any other single stadium. I haven't been to a game in the new in the Met Death yet. So 2 of the loudest games I've ever been to have been in that stadium. And one of them was a NFL playoff game against Dallas, and that place was electric. And the other one, which I have a similar situation to this. The other game was when Cam Newton came back. I happened to be there that day. And until the game started and they started getting their ass kicked, that place was magical. I mean, it was on fire that day. People were screaming at the top of their lungs. It felt like a playoff game. And then quickly it devolved into nothing. Same amount of people at the game. All the people there's just nothing to cheer for. When they get nothing to cheer for, they get really quiet. It's just what happens. I think, South Carolina, this will be my last, South Carolina for years had this reputation as this very difficult stadium. Well, every game I turned on, it sounded like a morgue in South Carolina. but when they win, that place is incredibly difficult place to play football, which they're doing a little bit more frequently this year and last. So, yeah, it's not about the stadium. It's not about all of our fans are old men. I guarantee you give old men something to cheer for, they're going to be loud.
Yep.
Period.
And I think the most overused term in all of sports is hostile environment. Everywhere's a hostile, right? And now all of a sudden, the reason Mike and I talked about this, because I knew where he was going to go, because I heard it on the Vikings game. They kept on. Yeah. They must have mentioned it 20 times at the hostile, because they do the skull chant. That's why it's hostile.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember Minnesota ever being like top 10 most hostile environments.
Yeah.
Come on, it's anywhere.
Most people are freezing their giblets off when they were outside.
Yeah.
First of all, I got a problem with a hostile environment being indoors. Also, like if you're in a dome,
yeah.
If you're in a dome, no, I can't give the nod for the hostile environment. Even if you have turf, it's got to be grass. It's got to be cold. It's got to be dark.
Right.
You know what's one of the most hostile environments out there? and they don't have a great fan base when they're losing, is the Raiders, because they have guys with spikes on it that will sit there and beat the shit out of you, but the team itself is bad, and they're not really like raging when the team's playing, as we saw as Carolina went into Vegas and dismantled them.
I think they lost that a little bit when they left Oakland, though.
They did, but even in Oakland, I think in Oakland it wasn't so much a hostile environment because the team was good. It was a hostile environment because the fans were hooligans.
Agreed.
Yeah. Just a freak show.
The hostile environment. What's the biggest difference between a hostile environment and the friendly confines? Like, the friendly confines is more of a baseball thing. The friendly confines of Fenway Park.
Day game, great. The smell of hot dogs, and it's friendly confines. Yeah.
They should mix those up. Here we are at the hostile confines of.
The hostile confines of the Polo Grounds.
Polo Grounds.
The Polo. To me, I would love to see the Polo Grounds in today, because the Polo Grounds are basically like a 600-foot outfield, and everything else was like 110 yards down the line. So you just
bizarre.
They fit a field inside a stadium more than anything else. Cardone, pet peeve?
Yeah, we already covered. This is why I'm glad I had a backup today. No, that's fine, Scott. Actually, it worked out perfectly. We covered the one with the officiating. So I had an officiating one. That was it. We talked about that. And then my other one, of course, you guys know where I like to go. Sports media.
Yes.
And this is perfect. Like, Novak already teed me up without even realizing it. But about 20 minutes ago, you mentioned a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers, right? So that makes sense, though. Aaron Rodgers has been around this league for a long time. He's made a lot of enemies. He's won a lot. He hasn't won a lot of championships, but he's won a lot. And he's been a lot of places. He's done a lot and has accomplished a lot in this league. So revenge game and Aaron Rodgers, that kind of makes sense, right? With his playing, with his accomplishments. So as I'm going through the recaps from yesterday's games and the NFL Week 3 grades, the first one I see is Packers earn an A in Malik Willis revenge game. And I had to research, who the fuck Malik? I mean, I'm like, that's the backup for Green Bay, right? And then I had to go through this whole fucking encyclopedia fucking research. Who? Revenge against what? Who? Where? When? How? And why? With Malik Willis. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, does this have, I had to think, oh, that's right. He was let go, I think, by the Titans. I couldn't remember who Green Bay beat yesterday. I remember they returned a pick 6 against Levis. I didn't even remember. I had to think, who'd they play yesterday? The Titans? So then I had to look up, listen to me, Levis. I looked up Malik Willis's stats from last year. The guy threw fucking 5 passes for the Titans last year in the regular season. Completed 4 of them, so actually 80%. And then I scrolled down a little further. He was sacked as many times as he had completions. 4, all of last year. And they lead off with Packers earn an A in Malik Willis revenge game. This is knock it off. Malik Willis is not revenging against fucking anything in the NFL. No one knows who he is.
No one knows.
The biggest part of that is that Will Levis had another game-changing turnover. I don't think he did the cornhole throw.
No, this one was overhand, Scott. Yeah, this one was actually So he had an overhand pick 6 this week. But guys, Malik Willis revenge game. So when it was so funny when Novak, when he brought up the revenge game before, I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. That's part of my pet peeve. Yeah, it makes sense with an actual revenge game. Maybe Favre going against Green Bay, or if Aaron Rodgers is playing against Green Bay, something where there's like years of longevity, years of winning, years of accomplishments. Malik Willis threw 5 passes for the Titans last year, and they're calling it a fucking revenge game. Knock it off.
They had another one last week that you'll love. Sam Darnold's win against the 49ers. He didn't play. He actually never played.
Right.
Revenge game.
Did he ever throw a pass?
No, he never. I think he mopped up a couple of times.
I don't remember him stepping on the field. Willis threw 5 passes as a Titan last year. Now, he was on the team the year before. He must have had some mop-up duty. He actually had maybe like 60 passes or something. But the first thing I see is revenge game. I'm like, just stop it with the media.
I could be wrong about this, and let me stay on what Novak just said for a second. Didn't Darnold say something too about Shanahan cutting him after that game? Like, look who you cut or something.
Or look who you let go or something. Not like let get away, I think it was the term, but yeah. Right. Because he was going to start over Brock Purdy. Never even played.
Never played.
So we're going to see my pet peeve in full force this Thursday. The Jets had it this last Thursday. But those of you that are watching the Amazon game, it's not just good enough to have artificial intelligence anymore. We now have the artificial intelligent red circle around defensive players to show you who's going to blitz. However, if you're really using this as an indication of AI, I don't know how many times I've seen this where they highlight a guy and he drops back in coverage or he doesn't blitz at all. And it's like, if you're going to show this as a guy who's more than likely to blitz, he better be blitzing 100% of the time. Otherwise, why the fuck are you doing this? Better yet, there's some bugs in this because I've seen them go to commercial where guys are running off to the sideline and all of a sudden the red circle appears underneath them as they're like heading off to the field.
I think, guys, the first week we were texting amongst ourselves with the red circle, which I didn't know it was going to be there. And there was a play where, the offensive lineman moved or somebody moved, and they're showing. And I'm like, well, I couldn't fucking tell. There's a red circle in the way. I couldn't see the line of scrimmage.
This is going to have the longevity of the glow puck.
Why do we have AI?
The glow puck, that was the worst.
But why is AI even determining this shit? And if AI is there, AI is pretty shitty if it can't even tell if a guy's going to blitz more than half of the time.
Guys, it's literally a video game where you're controlling the guy who's lit up on the screen.
Like Tecmo Bowl.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Sega. We used to love playing Sega NHL. You're hitting a button and like the little circle shows up on the guy that you're controlling.
What was it? Nintendo Hockey that had regular style hockey players, fat hockey players, and skinny hockey players.
Yeah, that was Nintendo. That was awesome.
That was great.
You could pick you could go with 3 fatties.
Your lineup was.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys had Sega in the NHL game at Sega. They introduced every year they added new stuff to it, and a guy would get checked. And literally, he'd fall to the ice, laid out on his back, and blood would be spewing out of his head. It was awesome.
Remember the year when Madden had the ambulance drive on the field if you knocked the guy out?
Sometimes it would run over people.
You could drive over players, right?
So I don't know. Honestly, though, getting more serious here, I don't know where we're going with the whole AI thing. It reminds me of AWS and the stats because we talk about AI, but every time we try to implement AI, it's an epic fail.
Yeah, it
is.
I can't imagine what the AI would be doing there. Is it like measuring down and distance and looking at tendencies and where he's lined up for a linebacker? But I mean, if AI was, that would ruin football if they were really good at it because, that would be like, we can never, don't bother blitzing. I got the red dot on me. I can't blitz. Everyone knows. I guarantee it's someone in there like Romo going, highlight that guy. He's going to blitz. He's coming. That guy's blitzing. So dumb. Just leave it alone.
It's so stupid.
Leave it alone is exactly where I was going to go, especially with Thursday night. Did you see also at the end of the game, they had Nikki Glaser doing a roast?
No, I did not see that.
She came on in the post game and did a roast of the NFL. She's in there making fun of the NFL. I like her. She's actually funny. But why do we need to do this? You're making fun of the league and the good players and everything else. And a couple of jokes were funny. A lot of it fell flat. It was stupid. Just let it go.
Yeah, of course. It always falls flat. It's so out of element. It's just watch the Oh, there's going to be a roast. I can't wait for that. Oh, I can't wait. Like who's
they were like, oh, she was great on the Tom Brady roast. Let's get her on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
So we did have some questions this week. Peacock, of course, gave his questions. And first one is a pretty good one. He asks, does Thursday's loser start looking to next year? I will say this. Given that the Giants are 1-1, Giants are 1-2, Dallas is 1-2. Washington right now is 1-1 and losing.
Winning.
Are they winning?
Washington's up big, man. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, 21-10.
And
they've touched the ball 3 times and they have 3 touchdowns. I don't know what's going on.
And Philadelphia's 2-1. You go to 1-3 at this point. It's panic time. But the AFC or the NFC East to me just seems like it's going to be one of those crazy years for the NFC East. So I don't think we start to look to next year necessarily right now. But if this continues till week 6, probably.
Your schedule is brutal.
It gets pretty difficult coming up. If the Giants lose this, they're buried, of course. I mean, it's not even, like if Dallas lost this, all those years where like we'd somehow pull a miracle and beat Philly and send them under 500 and we'd say that was the nail. And then 3 weeks later, Philly rips off 4 in a row and they're right back in. Dallas is going to be in the mix of this thing at the end. They just are. Win, lose, or draw Thursday. And, we know what's going to happen. They'll pummel the Giants. The Giants are gone after that. They're gone. Bye-bye. And Dallas will probably be fine. I still think they have more holes than usual, and I did pick them to make the Super Bowl earlier this year, and I would like to have that one back right now because they don't look like that. But to a Dallas fan like Peacock, Dallas, despite what he said when he was here with us, Dallas is an early front runner who fades. Like that's what Dallas does most years. And what's funny, other than 2007. When Dallas makes the playoffs in here these recent years, they don't even seem like a threat when they're in there. When they're they're going to get beat, and it happens. It's been that kind of thing. So maybe this is a little bit better for Dallas to start here with the questions and the kind of start with a fade instead of fade late. But to answer the question, the Giants are already looking toward next year. Before this game is even played. So.
Yeah, because I've already made my prediction. I don't see how the Giants win this game, and that's why we had to beat Washington in week 2. If we were sitting at 2-1, I wouldn't be saying that. I mean, Peacock probably wouldn't be asking the question, for the Giants maybe even at 2-2, but because after that at Seattle, Cincinnati, Eagles, at Pittsburgh, where are the wins? So if Giants lose, yes, buried, done, season's over. I kind of think the season's over anyway, but at least you're alive it gives you some hope for another week as a Giant fan if they were somehow pull out this win. But I think, Mike, what you were saying is what I feel the same way. If somehow that were to happen, it doesn't feel like the Cowboys would go away. I still feel like
they wouldn't go.
They would still be they'd still stick around. They would be in the mix. And if they go, I predicted them, they're going to win. Cowboys at 2-2. As to take your infamous line, they're fine. They're fine.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
The Cowboys are fine.
They're fine.
So he also asks, Belichick will be coaching in the East next year. Will it be for the Giants, Eagles, or the Cowboys? Guys, I'm doing the math on Belichick here. And I don't want him for the Giants for the mere reason that I don't care, even if he's great for the Giants, unless he brings a Super Bowl in the first 2 years, he's 73, 74. Yeah. The best he's going to be here for is 3-4 years. And then just age naturally says, all right, dude, you can't coach anymore. I don't think there's been a coach that's coached past 76.
I don't.
So I just don't want. I don't see the allure in Belichick because let's say Belichick even establishes a good team for you, then he leaves you in 2 years, and then you have to basically reboot.
I don't see the Giants as the spot. No, I do think that's going to hang over your heads all year. I do. And I said that at the end of last year. I said if they get off to a bad start, you guys have 5-6 wins, I think that's going to hang over your heads all year long. But that doesn't seem like the right fit. He seems like he might be somewhere like Chicago. I could see that. They've got a decent roster. It's an old school team. I think he likes that kind of vibe. I don't know. I don't see it, but you're going to have to deal with that.
Can he sign up for the Jets for a day?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
By the way, they did show that clip again this week.
I know.
They had to bring that out.
Yeah. Well, you know what's so funny? Real quick. He actually coached the Jets for 2 days because he also coached the year between Parcells coming over where he was the coach in waiting for 1 day. So he actually coached for 2 days for the Jets, which I forgot about.
The additional day. I don't know. Robert, what was the 3? He left out Washington out of the
he
Philly,
left out
Dallas,
Washington.
Philly, Dallas,
So Giants, Eagles, boys.
I'd be honest. I don't think Belichick has it in his heart to coach either Dallas or Philadelphia. I don't. And the only reason I might want him here is God forbid we just win 4 or 5 games again this year. It'd just be something for a reason for people to talk about us. It'd just be, as Cardone and I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, we're just invisible. We're not even
invisible.
Yeah. We're just an invisible franchise that just happens to exist in the NFL. And maybe it would be nice to hear their name mentioned once or twice in a season for a change. I don't know. I agree with Scott 100%. I agree with both Scotts. I don't think it's a great fit for him personnel-wise, the Giants. I don't think it's if the Giants are really looking to turn things around long-term, then he's clearly not the answer.
If he does come to New York, which I don't think is going to happen, at least there'd be some interest in a challenge to see which New York coach gets more camera time, him or Saleh.
Yeah,
so that'd be kind of cool.
My God,
we could do a side by side.
We should be sitting at the bar with stopwatches.
But no, he would. If he does decide to come back, he's going to go to a place where he can win quickly. And usually those are not the teams that have coaching vacancies, but we all know that, Dallas, Philly, these are kind of volatile situations, and there could be openings there with those two teams. So that's my primary. I mean, he may still have a special place in his heart for the New York Giants as coaching days and all that back in going back when he was at DC and all that. But I don't think he would come here to be part of this freaking never-ending rebuilding bullshit that we have going on.
I mean, if Jacksonville keeps playing the way they're playing tonight, maybe watch that one. Bring his young girlfriend down there in Jacksonville.
There you go.
Yeah.
20-year-olds like the beach.
That's what I'm saying.
So his last question is, does a win or loss Sunday carry over to Thursday? And, I've watched the league a lot of, for a lot of years. And to me, there are teams that look terrible on Sunday that somehow pick themselves up on the bootstraps on Thursday. And there's others that have gotten blown out on Sunday that continue that by getting blown up on Thursday. I don't think you can make a statement that anything carries over from Sunday to Thursday. The one thing I hate about Thursday, I just don't like Thursday games, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Hate them.
And I think the worst thing about Thursday is you can never predict what's going to happen because you just don't know. You don't know who's banged up from the week before. I mean, we did talk about some of the Giants' injuries. The Giants had Adoree Jackson leave the game early with a calf injury. We had Drew Phillips, another defensive back, leave the game with a calf injury. How long do those calf injuries take to overcome? And if those two can't play, that's a pretty big setback. So yeah, I would see significant. I would see Thursdays being more about injuries than they are about the mental aspect of winning or losing on that Sunday.
What players, coaches, who likes playing on Thursday?
No one.
I mean,
they all hate
it. I don't think anyone does.
They hate it. They hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Goodall gets to show up on Monday night or Sunday night against the Chiefs, or in the Chiefs box or whatever.
Dick. The Chiefs box.
You guys got anything else tonight?
I have one comment. Because I was ripping the guy apart most notably at the bar last week. Brian Burns, he gets my game ball or one of the game balls.
I forgot to mention that he actually did show up. He had a strip. He had a good play.
He was flying around on Sunday in the tackles for losses. He was involved. He got the strip sack on Watson there. We got the turnovers. So my game ball goes to Burns on the defense there. I've been ripping that guy for the first couple of weeks. We certainly heard his name on Sunday afternoon, so I was obviously thrilled to see that. Hope he just keeps it going. So
Cardone, I had that as a note. I didn't bring it up.
No, that's cool. I same here. I mean, I wrote the same thing. I'm like, you know what? I just want to make. I was going to bring that up at some point. I'm like, I'll just save it till the today. You guys got anything else? Yeah, my game ball to Burns.
Yeah,
Burns. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Giants hurt. Everything we said about them last week, they did differently this week. They can't overcome anything. Burns stinks. Where's Thibodeau? Micah McFadden was consistently in the backfield again. He played well against Washington too, but yeah.
They ran some read options with Jones. He had a couple keepers, so he had some rushing yards again. So I'd like to see that. At least keep the
screen
defenses.
Passes. Screen passes were
we had the screen. My God, we had a jet sweep with Nabers. We did a lot.
We did a tight end screen that worked.
We did.
Yeah.
Screen passes, but what's funny? Even our screens though, there was a couple where they were still going for like maybe 4 or 5 yards a couple times. A couple open field tackles by Cleveland, which nobody makes in the NFL. I'm like every other. I kept saying, I'm like, well, that screen usually goes for 20 yards. Every other team, we're getting 4.
There was one with Daniel Jones too, where he was scrambling. If the defensive guy didn't grab his leg, he was gone for about 30 yards. And
yeah. The first screen they ran, I think it was actually to Singletary, and he had a tunnel, and he went outside of the tunnel. And I was like, what are you doing? This is why we can't run screens. And then I will mention as a point that I almost flipped the table over in the watering hole I was in. What are they doing with the Philly special they tried to run down inside the 5, where they Jones ran out from under center and they clearly were trying to throw the ball to him. It's not going to work for us.
No.
The question is what watering hole were you on Sunday?
It was a place called Buena Vida, also known as BV.
Oh, in Valentine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a catered affair there, a family situation.
No, I know where you are. Yep. All right. Anything else, guys?
Go Mets.
Go Mets. So we'll drink our Grey Goose for the Yankees while Novak's sweating out the Mets.
Magic number 1 for.
I don't know
Bronx
what Mike
Bombers.
does for the Pirates, but
it involves Grey Goose, but it has nothing to do.
So we will see you next week. We were early this week on a Monday, but next week we'll be back to talk about the outcome of the Giants-Cowboys and the Jets-Broncos, and of course all the shenanigans that happen every week that we just see over and over and over again. So hit us up at our Twitter page, angry_3 at angry_3, or go to our website, angryfootballfans.com. Really love to hear from you guys. It's been a great start to season 5, and we hope to continue it.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.